it certainly finished a lot closer than I expected, because man, my preconceived ideas about how this was going to go, I thought the Puma was just going to win hands down. However, it was a lot closer. Shoe comparison I've got for you guys today. So we are going to put the Nike Vaporfly 4 up against the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. So I'll go through their similarities, their differences and their key features, and hopefully from that'll give you guys a great indication of choosing the right race shoe. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you want to support their channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, they're both neutral road racing shoes and pretty different prices here. So the Vaporfly 4 has had a recent price increase and it's now a fair bit more expensive than the Puma. So is that price different? Warranted? Well, you can be the judge of that at the end of this review. Now in the weight, big difference there. So can you feel the difference in the weight? Well, certainly in the hand and in the run as well. So the testing that I did today, swapping out between both shoes, I could definitely tell the difference there in the weight. Obviously the Vaporfly 4, much lighter package there. Now in the stack, you're going to get a higher stack in the Puma. Now can you feel that? Can you feel the difference? Well, yeah, you certainly can. You feel much higher off the ground in the Puma. Can't really tell any difference in the drop. And in the uppers, two very different materials going on here, and certainly one performs much better than the other, especially in the breathability department, and that is the Vaporfly 4. So engineered mesh here, breathability, excellent. Really fine mesh, it's a soft mesh, it conforms to the foot, great. I really love this material. Pretty solid heel counter at the back, but it does have a little bit of play, so you can squeeze it in there. Around the heel collar, no padding at all. It is finished off a little bit harshly and sort of by a leather type material. However, I haven't had any irritation of that so far. It does have an internal heel pad, and I think that saves the shoe, or saves my foot from getting any type of irritation around that pretty harsh heel collar, I will say. Now with our tongue, super thin, it's got a couple of little pads on the top of it to take the laces pressure off. It's cut to the wing fit. It's shrunk down from the previous version, which is good to see. The tongue is not gusseted, but I haven't had an issue with it moving around at all. One of the best things about this upper is the lacing system. So eyelets on either side reinforced, but the big winner here is these shoelaces. So they're amazing. So they've still got the notch laces, they've shrunk the notch, but these laces have got a little bit of stretch to them. It's just perfect. The midfoot lockdown in this shoe, I think, is one of the best on the market. I absolutely love it. However, it's not the case for the heel. There is a little bit of heel slippage in this shoe, so you need to play around with it a little bit just to nail that down. Now in the fit, this shoe is true to size in the length. In the width, for me, it's absolutely perfect, so not narrow, not too wide. And in the toe box volume as well, I think it's absolutely perfect. It allows a little bit of room there for the feet to swell on those longer runs. Now, totally different here in the Puma. So ultra weave is what they call this material. Now, it's quite, it's not as conforming, not as flexible, and it feels quite scratchy to the touch. And it's certainly nowhere near as breathable as the Vaporfly. But again, I want to say it's a pretty solid heel counter at the back for a race shoe, so it's not super flimsy. But again, you can squeeze it in quite easily. Much better heel collar here though in the Puma. So it's just a little bit more traditional. We've got a nice amount of padding around that heel collar. I absolutely love it. It does do a better job with locking the heel down, more so than the Vaporfly for me. With our tongue, super thin tongue, the tongue is not gusseted. I haven't had the issues with the tongue moving left to right, but I don't really like the material of the tongue in this. It's like a felt and it does soak up quite a lot of sweat. Same goes with the laces as well, so they do soak up a bit of sweat. Now midfoot lockdown in the Puma, very good as well. As I said, in the heel, I'm getting no heel slippage. In the fit though, this shoe fits long. It's about a half size longer than the Vaporfly 4, which is true to size. This one's a bit long, but it is a little bit narrow, this shoe, so if you try to come down half a size, it may be a little bit too narrow for you. I know when I am going to choose to race in this shoe next, I think I'm going to have a look at a half size down to see if I can actually get away with that. And in the outsoles, two pretty similar designs going on here. Both pretty much have that entirety of the forefoot covered and a little bit of rubber in the rear for the high wear areas, but they do perform quite differently. So with the Vaporfly 4, this rubber compound is super soft. it actually feels like a foam, like a rubberized EVA, and it delivers such a smooth sensation on the run. I absolutely love it. In the grip department, in the dry, it's excellent. In the wet, it's pretty good as well. This though, the big letdown is the durability. It's going to show signs of wear pretty quickly, especially when in comparison to the Puma, which is solid as a rock. We've got some high abrasion rubber, so not the same rubber that's in the top here, in the rear, and that does a good job of protecting that. Super foam in the shoe, other little features on the bottom of the shoe, exposed foam through the middle, and that exposed carbon plate. Now, with the Puma, they use Puma grip, so you would have all known about Puma grip, but for me it is the market leader in performance for outsoles. It's super durable and the grip is outstanding in all conditions. So this shoe being absolutely no exception there. But I believe it's the same rubber in the forefoot and in the rear. What this outsole will be though, it's certainly a harder compound, it's a thicker compound, and it's a lot louder on the road, so it's not going to feel as smooth as what it is in the Vaporfly. But exact same design here, what's going on in this shoe, exposed foam through the middle and the exposed carbon plate through the bottom there. And in midsoles, both shoes using their brand's version of super foam, so Zoom X in the Vaporfly 4, so 2 layers of their premium super foam. Sandwiched between that, they've got a full length carbon plate, which is they call their fly plate, give the shoe some rigidity. Now stiffness wise, pretty stiff shoe. You're certainly not going to, I'm not going to try to bend this shoe any more than that or this carbon plate will snap. So proper carbon plate here. Now, geometry wise, 4-foot rocker here, but it's an early stage rocker and it's very gentle. So with it being so gentle, it'll accommodate a wide variety of paces and it certainly promotes more of a natural feeling on the run, where a little bit different here in the Puma. So the foam they use here is Nitro Elite foam, and I think it's one of the most exciting foams on the market. I love it. So yeah, 2 layers of this Nitro foam, sandwiched between that, their full length carbon plate, which is called a power plate. Now rigidity wise, I think it's about the same stiffness as the Vaporfly, so neck and neck there. But in the geometry department, big difference here. So this has got a later stage rocker than the Vaporfly 4 and it's more aggressive. So a bigger swoop forward. So you're going to be able to get the most out of this shoe when you're running at those faster paces. So before we get into the ride, I'll tell you what the testing process was between these two shoes when comparing the ride. So it was just 1 kilometre rep each, and then I changed the shoes, and then an 800, then a 600, then a 400. So 1 rep of each, and just getting a taste of how they feel at all those different paces and what my effort levels felt like for me. Now, I did have a preconceived idea of how they were going to perform. However, I was a little bit surprised with how well the Vaporfly 4 performed and how much I liked it, because I thought that the Deviate Nitro Elite was going to win this one hands down. However, it was a lot closer than expected. So this shoe, this one done the first rep. So it done the 1 kilometre rep, and then I changed the shoe into the Puma and I done the 1 kilometre rep there. But this shoe, it's so light, it's so nimble on the foot, it's really soft, and it feels like you just got a slipper on your foot. So yeah, super comfortable. You don't feel like you have got the most propulsive shoe on your foot, as again, it feels really natural, but it's super easy to tick the legs over. It's super responsive, especially through the forefoot. Very snappy. You do feel fast, but for me, it just lacks propulsion. But I absolutely love just the sensation of this ride and how comfortable it is, where the big difference here with the Puma. So this foam is more robust, it's got more bounce. It doesn't have as much squish as Zoom X, but it's certainly got lots more energy return, lots more bounce. It feels much more like an explosive feedback when in comparison to the Zoom X. And what this shoe has going for it is just with this later stage rocker, once you start getting up on the forefoot and you're putting the power into the shoe, well, this shoe starts becoming like explosive in the propulsion sensation. So yeah, you really feel like you are smashing forward. But the big difference was when swapping out between both shoes is just a weight difference. So the Puma actually felt quite heavy on the foot, especially after running in this one. So, and then from that, I did feel like I was working a little bit harder in the Puma to get up to the pace. I think it was just a perceived effort thing, but yeah, the lightness of this shoe, I could really feel that it was ticking the legs over. Super easy, certainly more so in comparison to this shoe. But overall, yeah, totally different rise. As I said, this one's super natural, so light, feels like a slipper on the foot, nothing there. Lacks a bit of propulsion. This one, explosive bounce and explosive propulsion, but it's just going to be a little bit heavier, especially through the bottom, and it's also a louder ride as well, so it's not that super quiet smooth sensation in this shoe. This one is a little bit tappy, a little bit slappy because of this outsole rubber. And best shoes, so for me both these two shoes are going to do a great job at ticking off your next race regardless of what distance it is, because they're both, I think, really awesome shoes. Now, they do shine for me at different distances, so I'd probably choose one over the other. And I would choose for a 5K, 10K, I'm going to go with the Vaporfly 4. Just love that, really, the lightness of the shoe, how nimble it is and how quick you can turn the feet over. Yeah, just how smooth and natural it feels, whereas on the longer races I want something a little bit more chunky under the foot. I feel a little bit more protected with this midsole and just that propulsive nature of this shoe. I'm going to pick it for the half and the full marathon. And just wrapping up the comparison between these two shoes, so for me, it certainly finished a lot closer than I expected, because my preconceived ideas about how this was going to go, I thought the Puma was just going to win hands down. However, it was a lot closer than expected. It really surprised me of how smooth and how good I felt in this shoe, and how heavy this shoe felt when I was swapping from one to the other. So certainly the Vaporfly 4 has moved up a few notches in my book, but still, if I've got to choose a winner between these two shoes, I can't go past this Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Cheapest super shoe on the market. It's the best value super shoe on the market. It outperforms the shoes that are costing $50, $60, $70, $100 more than it. I'd still pick this one over most shoes on the market. It's an awesome. But anyway, a lot closer than I expected, so it wins by a hair. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes, just drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.